The article of the day is the Distributed Computing Manifesto. The Distributed Computing Manifesto, a canonical document from the early days of Amazon that transformed the architecture of Amazon's e-commerce platform. It highlights the challenges Amazon was facing at the end of 20th century and hints at where they were headed. A continuous challenge when operating at unparalleled scale, when you are decades ahead of everyone else and growing by an order of magnitude every few years, is that there is no textbook you can rely on, nor is there any commercial software you can buy. It meant that Amazon engineers had to invent their way into the future, and that with very few orders of magnitudes of growth, the current architecture would start to show cracks in reliability and performance, and the engineers would start to spend more time with virtual duct tape and WD-40 than building new innovative products. At each of these inflection points, engineers would invent their way into a new architectural structure to be ready for the next orders of magnitudes of growth, architectures that nobody had built before. Over the next 2 decades, Amazon would move from a monolithic to a service-oriented architecture, to microservices, then to microservices running over a shared infrastructure platform. All of this was being done before terms like service-oriented architecture existed. Along the way, they learned a lot of lessons about operating at internet scale. A brief history of systems architecture at Amazon. Before we go deep into the weeds of Amazon architectural history, it helps to understand a little bit about where Amazon was 25 years ago. Amazon was moving at a rapid pace, building and launching products every few months. Innovations that we take for granted today, like one-click buying, self-service ordering, instant refunds, recommendations, similarities, search inside the book, associate selling, and third-party products, the list goes on. And they were just the customer-facing innovations. We're not even scratching the surface of what was happening behind the scenes. Amazon started off with the traditional two-tier architecture, basically a monolithic, a stateless application that was used to serve pages and hold battery of databases that grew with every new set of product categories. Products inside those categories, customers, and countries that Amazon launched in. These databases were a shared resource and eventually became the bottleneck for the pace that Amazon wanted to innovate. Back in 1998, a collective of senior Amazon engineers started to lay the groundwork for a radical overhaul of Amazon's architecture to support the next generation of customer-centric innovation. Our core point was separating the presentation layer, the business logic, and data, while ensuring that reliability, scale, performance, and security met an incredibly high bar and keeping the costs under the control. The proposal was called the Distributed Computing Manifesto. Now let's give this article a PS score. Overall, this article is a nice read, so it gets 8 out of 10 on readability. With 8 pages long, it scores 6 out of 10 on length. It's an interesting article from early days of Amazon with decent descriptions, so that makes it 8 out of 10. Its industry value and learning meter is decent if you're interested in early history of companies. I think it does an okay job of doing that, so it gets 6 out of 10 on each. Overall PS score is 7 out of 10.